Very sad breaking news that renowned BBC DJ Steve Wright has died at the age of 69. Announcing the news just in the last few moments, his family said, "It's with deep sorrow and profound regret we announce the passing of our beloved Steve Wright. As we all grieve, the family requests privacy at this immensely difficult time."
Steve Wright will be best remembered for his 4 decades presenting BBC Radio 1 and 2, as well as fronting TV shows including Top of the Pops.
Well, joining us on the phone now is our very own Vanessa Feltz, who worked with Steve Wright. Vanessa, very, very sad news.
I'm absolutely, I'm shocked to the core. I'm absolutely devastated to hear this news. I mean, I rated Steve Wright so highly, just as everybody else in the country and beyond did, as a pure radio genius, you know, an innovator, creator, the presenter of a show that sounded nothing like anybody else's shows ever. You know, a man who was at the absolute top of his game for decade after decade. And I think I first worked with him something like 34 years ago, and I definitely was a guest on his BBC TV show, and then we were colleagues at Radio 2 and also friends for years and years. And I have only just heard, as I'm away on holiday in Ireland, and the news has just reached me, and I'm absolutely shattered. I'm so sorry. He is, you know, he was an extremely bright, fascinating, I can't tell you what great company he was. You know, he was such great company on the radio, but he was the most tremendous company off the radio too. He was just a wonderful, wonderful man and most extraordinary broadcaster. And I am so sorry for his family and so devastated, really.
Vanessa, one of the things that's always come through about Steve Wright is that he wasn't only incredibly popular with listeners, but also with his colleagues, but he also managed to span the demographics and the generations. He had younger fans and older fans. My mother is in her 80s, was a huge fan, you know, but much younger people than me loved him too.
Absolutely right. I mean, he was just one of these guys that had this tremendous kind of genius for tapping into things. You know, he used to do an item on his show which was basically effectively put your hand up if you've just stared into the fridge, thought that there was nothing in there you fancied, closed the door, then opened it again and reached in and eaten something. And you'd be in your car or you'd be wherever you were and you think, yeah, me, I've just done that. Whatever he said, you'd always just done it. You'd always done exactly what he said you'd done. He was, you know, a really humorous, bright, switched-on kind of a guy. He spanned generations, many generations. I think grandkids and grandparents and great-grandparents all loved his show, which makes it all the more bewildering that Radio 2, for no reason that I understand, decided to take him off his daily show, which was the absolute joy and you know, blessing of his life and the joy and blessing of so many millions of listeners' lives too. Absolutely incomprehensible behaviour.
And Vanessa, Steve Wright raised the craft of being a radio DJ almost to an art form, and he studied it, didn't he? He was a great student of the medium.
Absolutely. He took it with meticulous seriousness, as if he was, you know, in a laboratory conducting a Nobel Prize-winning scientific experiment with that level of, you know, attention to detail, research, all kinds of things. And also his show was multi-layered. You know, he would do interviews in advance, pre-record them, edit them very carefully, edit things in, take them out. You know, other people were just sitting there saying, here's another great hit from Mott the Hoople. Not Steve Wright. That just wasn't it at all. You know, if you listen to his show, you were getting kind of every inch of this guy's creativity and personality and numerous interests. He introduced a posse, you know, so there'd be different voices, different people. He introduced all those characters, the old lady, and all that kind of a thing. He was really, I mean, he worked at that show. I'd say the show was on for two hours a day. He worked on it full time. That's the truth of how he put it together.
Yeah. Which is the way to make something as brilliant as that. And, of course, I've just been reading, Vanessa, that tomorrow, Valentine's Day, will be very, very poignant for Steve Wright fans because he was working right up to the end. He pre-recorded on Sunday a programme that's going to be broadcast tomorrow for Valentine's Day. So he was working right up to the end, which I think most of us would expect from a true professional like that.
Absolutely. I mean, he was absolutely galvanized by radio. He wasn't kind of blasé about it. He hadn't had enough of it. He was, as you said, energized and enlivened and absolutely just full of kind of love and passion and enthusiasm for his job. People wanted him every day and on Sundays. People just had an appetite for what he had to give. And I saw him myself face to face for a chat, for a cuddle, a couple of months ago, I think it was, and he was bursting with plans and bursting with energy and appetite for the future. So this is really, really shattering news. I am so sad.
Well,
we're going to miss him so badly. Such a shame.
Well, obviously his family and his friends like you will miss him very painfully. But I think the rest of the nation, along with you and with both of us, Vanessa, will be raising a glass to Steve Wright this evening to thank him for everything he did for us.
Hear, hear. Just thank you, Steve, for all the hours, all the music, and especially the bit I used to like the best. I know it used to drive some people crazy, but when he used to sing along, I used to love it when he sang along. Love it. I mean, it was hilarious. Still not sure whether he could actually sing or not, but he didn't seem to care. He would just kind of blithely sing, crashing in with his own chords. And, some people used to write to the BBC to complain. They regularly got complaints about it, but I used to absolutely love it. I never dared do it when I was on Radio 2, and I always used to say, God, if I was Steve Wright, I'd definitely be singing along there. I just don't dare inflict this on you, lovely listener, because I love you. But he had no such compunction. He was a really unusual, really unprecedented radio voice. He'll never be followed. When people say to you, you'll never see his like again, nobody will ever hear his like again, because there's nobody like him. There never will be. Really original, creative, extraordinary person. I'm absolutely shocked and devastated at this news. I can't tell you. I keep on repeating it, don't I? Because I'm trying to get it through my head that this has actually happened. I can't believe it. Oh my God.
But Vanessa, I think you're not alone. And it's funny, is when we think about those characters, those big characters, radio characters, the ones who are truly popular, it's the ones that you like to go for a drink with. It's the Terry Wogans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the Steve Wrights. It's the ones that you think, I would love to have a pint in the pub with you.
But that was the broad appeal of Steve Wright. It was called The Big Show for a reason, because he could touch people of every age, and that gave him that huge popular appeal.
Yeah. Well, Vanessa, as we said...
I had that item called Serious Jockin, no G. That was one of his big things.
Exactly. Vanessa, we're so sorry to have interrupted your holiday with this really sad news.
Don't worry. I would have. Just sometimes, you're trying to do a professional job and pay tribute to somebody who thoroughly deserves a thoroughly excellent tribute. But really, in my heart and in my head, I'm just thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to see him again. Oh no, it's just, because this is real. I'm not just making this up. This is years and years of knowing him, working with him, hanging around with him, chatting to him. And basically, I used to just try and learn from him. That's what I've always really wanted to do.
Exactly. And Vanessa, did he have that naughty twinkle as much in real life as he had on the radio? Because that was the other thing. You just thought, you could almost hear the ... You could hear the what he was saying between the lines, and he wasn't quite saying it because he couldn't on the radio.
100% yes to that. Yes, he was. I think, a thorn in the side of management, because he was mischievous. He, as they say, ploughed his own furrow. There wasn't really anything that he wouldn't want to say, that he wouldn't say. And actually, it was Radio 2, the years that I worked with him. But I wouldn't say he necessarily gave his interviewees an easy ride either. If there was something he wanted to ask, he'd ask it. And he wouldn't make any bones about it. He'd really go for it. Sometimes he'd go for the jugular. It wasn't all this kind of Radio 2 jolly fest with him. He could be, a proper piercing, excellently kind of forensic interviewer when he fancied it. He was a man of many talents, really.
A proper all-rounder, Vanessa.
Totally.
Thank you so much. And
Such
obviously,
a pleasure, but so sad.